Okay, let's get going. Let's polish up some aluminum. But what finish do we want? Well, I never thought about that part. I just want to polish it. Nope, you have to really find out what you want first. If you want a brushed finish, this starts out at 400 right here. This is 400 grit if you use an oscillating sander. This is all real gently with the sanding too. This isn't pushing down and forcing on it. That's just a pretty light sand. Over here, we have 1000 grit. Well, let's start off with 6, just so we keep bouncing up, 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 up. Here's 600 grit. We move to 1000 grit. Pretty substantial change there. Trying to catch the light the same way. Then we move over to 2000 grit up here. And on this end, 2500. So now let's give everyone an equal shakedown of 25, what do we want to call it? 25 times, let's do 50. Let's do 50 different swipes on here and see what each looks like after that. And we'll come right back. And the results are in. The amazing part I find right away, here's 400. And when you look at the back side and see oscillating 400, that looks much better. Much better. I was surprised by that. I hope you guys can see exactly what I can. I'm trying like heck to show you these surfaces. So there's our 400. That didn't come out too bad, but when you jump up to grits like 600 and 1000, you just start seeing results. Here at our 600, this at our 1000. And then when you jump over the other way, all right, that's not fair. Here's 2000. That's a pretty nice finish. And then when you jump over here, this is 2500. Now you can get it a little better than what you're seeing because I only put on exactly 50 strokes each time so that all these tests would be the same. I didn't want to change up how it was all done, if you will. So whoever wants to put a finish on something, this is pretty simple to do, but there are a few key things you need to do. You don't want to let this material gall. And that's all about letting the sandpaper load up. So you're always going to want to keep some water rolling on it or some kind of lubricant. Even Windex works. Whatever, you have to have some lubricant going. Once it starts to gall, it'll put a surface finish on it that's really tough to get out. It's almost like you baked it in. So keep some lubricant going. That'll really help you out. It will actually make it sand a lot faster too. And you're going to always have to block sand when you're trying to go for your best finishes if you're trying to remove anything that's in the surface. Otherwise, you can feel free to go to whatever favorite buffs you like and all that stuff, of course. But first you need to get the baseline, and that's making it look flat, whatever it is you're trying to polish or make. If the finish underneath shows undulations and marks from machining of any kind, you'll never get that really true mirror perfect finish. So if you're looking for that finish, you're going to have to deck it with a block. If you're just looking for a good polish, by all means, cotton buffs and what have you. All good stuff. Here's one of the problems you can have too. If you look at this finish here, you can see how it's orange peeled. That's due to heat. And that's from buffing and not having enough compound and pushing too hard and letting the product get overheated. So you want to be careful when you're doing that. Next, This is just a piece of extrusion that's been laying around forever, all dinged and beat up. And I thought I would just give this a couple, literally this just got 50 strokes left and right to look like that. From looking like this seconds before. So it doesn't take anything to do this. It's just simply Mother's mag and aluminum polish, or whatever favorite aluminum polish you use would probably work just as well. It's all about spending the time for your surface finish underneath. You can see in this extrusion how it's beat up. Although it's shiny, it's still beat up. And that detracts from the look of your final finish. So it's all about what you need, what you want. If you simply want to make it look really bright and new, by all means, just taking some Mother's and just wiping this down quick will take care of that. You need no special tools at all. All done by hand, and it's quick. Not a big deal. But if you're looking to get a finish that's crazy, where it almost looks like it's chrome itself, well, then you have to play the game, and you start with your low grits of sandpaper, your lowest you need. Don't get crazy unless you have to. If you have tons of undulation, you're going to have to go down to something like 60 or 80. No problem. Maybe even lower, but only you will know that. And keep building up until you're happy with the finish. Test, test, test. Find out what you need. But hopefully, you found out through this video that you might need something rather high in grit to look really, really nice. And generally, it's past 1,000 grit where it starts to look good. And there's another tip. While you guys are sanding, it's a real typical thing to try to sand by pushing as hard as you can to remove as much as you can. Maybe that's okay to do on wood, but I wouldn't recommend that on aluminum. It's easy to cause the galling problem. And not only that, in between grits, let's say you're coming off a 220, and it's brand new 220 that you were using. The last thing you should do is really gently give it some strokes over the 220 without any real force. And that's like jumping up another grit for free, if you will, because it's a real smooth surface compared to being a little tougher with it, if you will. Once you get up to your higher grits, that's even more important. Go easy on the load, and you'll find you can get a much finer grit, or much finer finish. The other thing is what you're using. If you're going to go above, let's say, I'm going to go out on a limb here, 1,000-ish grit, you can't use paper towel anymore to do anything. It's literally causing the finish to be cloudy. You're literally scratching it, probably like 1,000 grit. I can't be sure of that, but paper towel is not your friend when you're finishing aluminum. You're going to have to go to microfiber, good microfiber towels to get some really good finish, and keep them clean. Another thing you can't do is cross grit. If you've been doing a lot of wet sanding and you're wiping stuff off with a microfiber towel, the towel that you wiped off 600 grit with has to remain for wiping off 600 grit, or it has to be very specially cleaned. You'll cross-contaminate, and it'll be pretty tough to get your scratches out if you don't have separate towels.